The other tip I would have is about rejection. Like, some of my friends have been applying for jobs recently, and they've been knocked back, whatever. And my thing is always, it's not necessarily about how good you are; it's about how great the other people going for the job are, as well. Like if you're going for, say, I don't know, think of a taxi service app, let's say Uber or whatever, and you're competing with someone who's worked at Lyft and you've never worked in that space before, they're going to have a clear advantage because they've worked in that space. And so you may never know who you were competing for the job. It's like, don't be disheartened by like the rejection, and if possible, get as much feedback as you can, because then that will help you for your next thing. So if someone says your examples of your work were too specific, then you could say, well, okay, for my next interviews, I might show some extra variations in my work, or might briefly go over them, saying, so people can see that you've got variation. If they say you didn't have enough experience in blah, think of the things that you might be able to demonstrate that, or sometimes I've seen feedback like, don't have enough management experience. You're like, well, then maybe in your current role, seek to get more management experience. So it's like, think of like the best companies is the ones who give the best feedback, like, of things that you can pivot on. So don't always get disheartened. Rejection's a part of it. Sometimes it's a blessing in disguise that you may not have got along with the folks in that company anyway. So
yeah, that's totally agree. That's really good advice. Let me ask you this. So kind of talked about like the pre-work, during the interview, a little bit about post-interview, but another common recommendation is to, when the interviewer asks, do you have any questions for me? And coming up with like a few thoughtful questions. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot, but is there any questions that come top of mind that kind of really stand out as like, wow, this person, like, that's a really thoughtful question, and that like is like, we're ending on a very high note because like I really appreciated that.
yeah, so I mean, I'll always research the company's design culture, and if there's anything that's ever been said, positive or negative, I'll ask them about it, because then it shows that you actually have some knowledge on the company. Other than that, it's like, how do you collaborate with researchers? How do you collaborate with engineers? Because I don't want to work in a place where I'm stuck in a box and I don't get to speak to anyone. Like, I just don't. I want to be able to be in an environment where I can have a symbiotic relationship with engineer, PM, research in particular. Like, is there money and research time to do stuff? Like, or are we just expected to just pump designs out and hope for the best? Like, just understanding their process about how they create things. Again, it's just like, the way to think about it is backwards. What would be your perfect design environment? And then think of questions that will actually tease out whether that environment is somewhere you actually want to work. I know sometimes we can be desperate for work, but is it worth going to a company that you're going to be unhappy with? Is what I would say.
Thank you for listening to today's episode of Design Huddle. The opinions expressed are solely our own and do not express the views or opinions of our employer.